From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Aslan and Corey. It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. I have my voice back. That was crisis averted right there, Corey. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access. I hope you all, as many of you as possible, use that promo code from the other week for the 6 bonus months. But that has come and gone. But Corey and I still remain here, loyal, to deliver another hard-hitting episode of Wake Up War Chant. Corey, I couldn't do it without you. I'm glad you're here. How are you?
I am wonderful, buddy. I am always wonderful, but I'm even more so when talking to you and hearing your dulcet tones.
That's such dripping with sarcasm, man, but it's okay.
What? That's crazy.
Whatever, man. All right, so this probably won't be the longest show we've done because they practiced yesterday, which is cool, but they didn't let us watch, which is not cool. But it's okay. Everybody at home's stoked. That means that they're going to win at least 2 more games because we're not there to distract them. So you're welcome. We'll take it for the team. We did get a catch up with Willie as well as Anthony Grant, who I didn't talk to Anthony Grant. I think Gene talked to him. And Nolan McDonald, everybody's the most famous, popular guy on campus, right? The backup quarterback. But before we get to that, I don't know. I feel like it was my fault. I obviously have to drive this thing. I kind of think we glossed over Hornibrook maybe too much. I don't know how much you really can hammer down in that. But there seems to be such a wide-ranging opinion of him on the message boards of warchant.com. The fans are sort of split in what they see and what they feel. I think you and I made our sort of point. It feels like fairly straightforward. It's Florida State's better off having him, right? I mean, Corey, to distill it down to the most basic concept, Florida State got better by securing his commitment, I would think, right?
Sure, but if you're going to ask me, would they be better with James Blackman starting or Alex Hornibrook, I can't even fathom a scenario where you'd rather start Hornibrook. I've watched the dude play enough to know, and I've seen his numbers. And that's an offense where you should be efficient because everybody's trying to stop the run. And he's just not a good quarterback. He's a fine backup option.
Yes.
But I've watched the guy enough to think, man, I get in, but we'll see. Maybe he'll pick up Bryle's offense really, really quickly. I guess I shouldn't speak so out of turn, but yeah, man, the team is better with him there just because it's a nice backup option to have if something happens to Blackman. But you don't want that guy. Why isn't he in Wisconsin, Aslan?
Exactly. It's very rarely do these grad transfers leave for greener pastures. I mean, maybe personally, but in terms of their career. It's, guys don't leave their last year if they're not going pro to start anew somewhere unless there's some smoke, if there's something else wrong. So, saying something's wrong, that's very vague. We don't know, but there's reports out there. There might have been some in-house Donniebrooks between him and teammates. He obviously has concussion problems. His stats are not good, but, people say that there's like 2 threads I want to get to today that I'll probably make us coast most of the show. One of them is this one's, it's sort of long, but maybe I shouldn't get to that. But people are saying that folks like you and I guess, we're clinging to the wrong stat. We're focusing on his touchdown interception ratio, his yardage, and not the fact that he was 26-6 or 30 and whatever he was the last 3 years in Madison.
Yep. Okay. Well, quarterback wins are not completely useless. There is some merit to quarterback wins, except when you're at a place at like Wisconsin. Wisconsin
Alabama
didn't win football games because of their quarterback.
Yeah.
They win it because they have a massive offensive line that produces 2,000-yard rushers or, they 1,800-yard rushers annually. All the time you're looking up, who's the latest Wisconsin running back that's run for 1,765 yards on 500 carries? I mean, that's all they do. So saying that, I mean, it's just with Tom Brady's win-loss record, that matters. I wouldn't say quarterback wins are a dumb stat when it comes to Tom Brady. But when it comes to the Wisconsin quarterback, come on, man. I want to know the offensive guard's career winning percentage at Wisconsin. He has about as much impact on an offense. And look, I'm not poo-pooing the kid. I mean, I am. I know I am. But I'm not trying to be dismissive about the move. Certainly, they're a better football team, depth chart wise today than they were 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I get it, but don't hand me the win-loss for a quarterback. Come on now, come on. We're better than that. It's Wisconsin. He's not the quarterback at Texas Tech. Kid would complete 11 passes a game, maybe. He wasn't the reason they won.
Yeah. Well, Mike Farrell from Rivals tweeted out something about does FSU really think that Alex Hornibrook is the answer? And he just got absolutely eviscerated, quartered, maimed by the FSU Twitter mob and the folks on War Chant. And I don't understand why.
Well, who thinks he's the answer? Do people think he's the answer?
Here we go. Well, here's the thread that really triggered me, I guess you could say. Not triggered me, but I'm not going to read the guy's name out because I don't want to make him feel attacked. But the thread title is called Puzzled. You can read it on warchant.com, the Tribal Council. I'm puzzled about all the love being heaped on James Blackman. Can anyone demonstrate just why he's viewed as our savior for this season? What has he done? Looking back on his first season as our starting quarterback, I don't see a damn thing to lead me to believe he's the answer. How many remember that 18 spring game? Blackman stunk. Frankly, I'll be surprised if Blackman beats out Hornibrook for the starting job in 2019. This is like 2 pages worth of replies, and it's got a lot of traction. But not a lot of people agree with him. But there's people that believe this.
I don't think have you talked to anyone? You have Florida State friends.
Right.
You got group threads that you're in and group text.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said that James Blackman is the savior?
No.
So where's that coming from? Already we're under a false premise. Nobody is expecting James Blackman to win a Heisman, and nobody thinks he's the savior. I can't imagine why somebody would think that Hornibrook is a better option than James Blackman, unless you just don't like James Blackman. And bringing up the 2018 spring game, okay, man, he was playing with half an offensive line that was walk-ons, throwing to walk-ons. How about we bring up the 2018 game that actually counted that he played in? How are you going to bring up the spring game and not the NC State game where he threw for 400 yards?
Well, people
anyway, I mean, but why would you put stock in the spring game and say he stunk and not bring up the NC State game? That was 8 months later when he had been in the offense for a whole year. Well, he'd been in the offense for 8 months. So, he'd been working with Willie Taggart's offense for 2 weeks in a spring game, no tackling and no offensive line to speak of. Anyway, it's weird. Like I hate those kind of arguments where it's the false premise of everybody thinks James Blackman's going to be awesome. No, they don't. Nobody does. Nobody thinks James Blackman's going to be awesome. They think he can be pretty good to decent, maybe lead him to 8 or 9 wins, which is all you're looking for in 2019, I think. But thinking that Hornibrook, because he won games at Wisconsin, like that would transfer over to a brand new system and a brand new conference is craziness to me. But you know what? Maybe Wisconsin limited him because he didn't get to throw a lot. Maybe he is a more gifted passer than he's presented in his 3 years. Again, though, and this isn't a shot at Hornibrook as much as it is any of these guys, like you mentioned earlier, the Golsons of the world, the kid that transferred to Florida from Notre Dame that never played.
Malik Zaire. Wilton Spate went to UCLA last year. Nothing happened to him. Jake Coker is the only example of success you can have. And again, how much of that was him or what he was surrounded by? But grad transfer quarterbacks, people talk about Russell Wilson. There's Russell Wilson, Jake Coker, and then you fall off a cliff, and then you're down here with, the guys like I mentioned, Wilton Spate and Malik Zaire and Everett Golson.
Russell Wilson's the exception, not the rule.
Exactly.
And that was a very extenuating circumstance because NC State fans and I assume most of his teammates wanted him to stay.
Yeah, he was good at NC State.
Hey, he was great. He threw for like 5 or 6 touchdowns in a game against Florida State. Now, it was 2009, so that comes with an asterisk against that defense. But still, he's the exception. Most grad transfer quarterbacks aren't Russell Wilson. They're Everett Golson. If you are a great or a good college quarterback, if you're a 3-year starter, they don't usually they don't like you to leave to go to another program if they think you're good. They'll do whatever it takes to keep you. There's a reason the kid's leaving. And that, again, that's not a shot at Hornibrook as much as it is the mindset to think that a grad transfer quarterback is going to make a huge difference. And I would have said this about any of the guys that they were rumored to be getting.
Yeah,
I don't think most of the guys they were rumored to be getting, though, were seniors.
Well, no, they were. I mean, think about it. They wanted to get Jalen Hurts. There was contact between the Hurts family and Willie Taggart. That didn't work out.
But also, isn't Hurts another extenuating circumstance in the sense that we all get that? He's behind one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's not going to play.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we have to realize, poor Willie Taggart, when has he gotten the first option on his board? People might say, well, finally, Kendall Browse is the first guy that he wanted. That was option A, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Hugh Freeze was brought in before Kendall Browse, so I don't know if that's because that's the way the calendar worked out. It was just easier to bring Hugh Freeze in first, but Hugh Freeze came to Tallahassee before Kendall Browse did. I'm excited for Kendall Browse. I'd have been excited if we had Hugh Freeze as well. I think both those guys have been really good hires. Browse may be the edge just because he brings Randy Clements with him. I don't think Hugh Freeze's guy at Ole Miss was Matt Luke, who's their head coach now, so he obviously wouldn't come with him. And I don't know what kind of guy he would have brought in offensive line-wise. But, yeah, I mean, what his plan, I'm sure, obviously, was to get a grad transfer guy, and he wanted to go after a guy like Jalen Hurts, but he ended up at a guy like Alex Hornibrook. Not the best situation, but again, it suits the purpose. It suits the role they need for him to fulfill, which is somewhat capable, adept depth, because I think it is James Blackman's job to lose, and I don't see how he would lose it for a guy that's going to enroll in June. It just boggles my mind. Say what you want about James Blackman. Maybe you want to point to the Sean McGuire fact that Sean McGuire didn't win the job out over Everett Golson, but that felt like a little bit of a different situation than what's going to be happening here in 2019. I think Blackman is more accomplished than McGuire. Yeah, he didn't beat a ranked team like Clemson, but do we want to look at quarterback wins, or do we want to look at what helped win that game in 14 against Clemson, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I think, I just can't look at QB wins when the quarterback is at Wisconsin and treat it as a meaningful stat. Just like, quite frankly, there you go. I couldn't with Jacob Coker. Was that a great move? Sure, I guess. Did it work out for Jacob Coker? He won a national championship. He never sniffed the NFL. Would he have if he'd have stayed with Jimbo? Maybe. And I feel like you could have quarterbacked that team to a national championship. At least got him into the game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he was a huge success. In fact, he went over there and lost the job.
Yeah.
His first time he had a chance at it. So they just don't normally work. They're never as big a deal as we make them out to be. And I'm glad that at least you and I think most of the Florida State fans understand what this is.
Yes.
It's for depth, which good for them. They need it. And that's not sarcasm. They need it. And it's hard to get somebody to come to a school where they're not going to be the starter. So in that essence, I don't know what else Willie had to choose from that for a guy that was going to come here and back up James Blackman. But I don't know what, like I said yesterday, I don't know what other options Hornibrook had. Now, I don't think there were a ton of schools beating down his door because, again, the film and the stats tell you everything you know. Okay, fine, competent quarterback, nothing more. But you don't need anything more for a backup, right?
No. But these, like the replies to the guy, the Mike Farrell guy, who's the recruiting guy for Rivals.com, like the replies to the tweet are just napalm. I mean, people just coming at him, like just all sorts of insults being flung in his direction. I mean, because they think Hornibrook is the answer, or insults because they think that Farrell is taking a shot at Florida State by saying that.
Well, but the shot being that I would think if I was a Florida State fan upset about that, and I don't know how you really could be, I would be like, hey man, nobody thinks he's the answer.
There's a good amount of that.
We're just excited that we got a backup that has experience.
Yeah, there's a good amount of that. Of like for backup, yes, why not? That's somebody that replied that. Yeah. I don't think Florida State has many other options. That's sort of fair. But there's people like, yeah, he can easily beat out Blackman. Like, I don't think so. But what I want to get to now, though, Corey, ask you is, I want to temper the expectations around James Blackman to a certain degree because I just know how we eat our young and we eat our own when it comes to Florida State fans because I'm not too far removed from being in the stands and being drunk and yelling at people. It just once he does lose a game, I can just see the calls already being made for him to be replaced. I just hopefully it won't happen, until October when they lose their first game. But can James Blackman be sort of, I don't know if poor man's is the right thing, but like Christian Ponder, we hear the term generational quarterback, right? Like Jameis is a generational talent, Cam Newton, etc. Can he be a transitional talent? Like I think that might be what like Christian Ponder was. Christian Ponder brought Florida State out of just very inadequate quarterback play for a very extended period of time and brought Florida State to the forefront of like, we can actually be a quarterback-driven offense once again. We can have somebody that's pulling the levers that knows what they're doing. And then from him, you go to EJ, and then from EJ to Jameis, and obviously Jimbo never capitalized. Like, isn't that what we're kind of hoping from James Blackman? We don't think he's going to win 13 games in a year. We're not expecting national championship maybe. But get Florida State back to, like you said, 8-9 wins in 19. Maybe you get 10 in 2020, and then at that time, Willie does get the right kind of quarterback from a high school level, and then he can start grooming that kid, and then this thing is off and running. The whole fact of, like, we're not going to have Browse for a long time. Just get this thing going now off the jump. Just get some inertia, get some momentum started. Let Willie recruit well, and then this thing hopefully will start carrying itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to put it, transitional. That's the hope. I don't – again, he's not the savior. The savior – and it would take more than one quarterback to save this program right now anyway. But you got plenty of holes you got to fill and plenty of talent you have to insert into this program to rely all on a quarterback. And yeah, man, that's something I'm not looking forward to as the first time he loses, because he is going to lose, folks. Spoiler alert: Florida State will not go undefeated in 2019, so he is going to lose multiple games. And you just look. Maybe I got to go back and watch more Wisconsin film. Maybe the kid has a much better arm than I think he does. I just can't imagine the calls. I mean, look, unless Blackman's throwing 3 or 4 picks a game, then yeah, I mean, I think Taggart would have to be forced to maybe make a decision, but I don't foresee that happening. And you ride or die with this guy, man. You have to. I'm sure, like I said yesterday, Hornibrook will get a chance to compete for the job.
For sure. Definitely.
But he would have to land like a 6th round TKO to take the belt away from James Blackman, in my opinion.
Yeah, he
will have to be light years better than that kid.
Right. This isn't Francois Blackman 2018 where there's a marginal gap, if anything, and we're going to give it, or we think that this guy earned it. We're going to roll with him for the rest of the season, the whole year. It has to be a considerable step up in production and talent and execution for Alex Hornibrook to win the job.
Well, but I think that would have been, and that's not a slight on Hornibrook. It's for anybody that would have come in. Jordan Travis, Justin Fields.
Yes.
I think we think Justin Fields is one of those talents maybe that would unseat Blackman. But normally the grad transfer market, you're not getting elite type quarterbacks because teams don't want to lose those types of kids. Yeah. So out of somebody else coming into the program for one season, it would have been hard. I think it'd be hard for any of them to unseat Blackman. And I think Blackman, look, man, the thing about Blackman is we have no idea what he is. The poster that you mentioned brought up 2017. Well, at the end of 2017, he was pretty good.
Yep.
And in the one game he played in 2018, he threw for 430 yards.
4 touchdowns.
So without an offensive line. Yeah. So there's a chance maybe he is better than we think. But he hasn't gotten a chance to really prove it yet. This will be his season to prove it. But I do think the fact that he was recruited here, he signed here, he stayed here, makes him the obvious choice. But not only that, I think he's just more talented. He's got a big arm, man. Like that's the thing is like there's some things about quarterback that obviously are more important than arm strength. But as skinny as the dude is, holy moly, he's got a gun.
He does.
I mean, he's really blessed with a strong arm, and he's going to throw it a lot. And he's going to show it off a lot. So even with that, it'll be more fun to see 5 60-yard passes. I'm not saying they'll all be completed, but my man's going to take some shots, and he's going to throw it to Terry 10 times.
He is.
I'm not sure if my man Hornibrook how far he can throw the ball.
We'll talk about
I really
this.
don't. I don't know how far he can throw the ball, but I know Blackman can hurl the thing. So anyway, it's probably way too much time on Hornibrook already. I don't think this kid is gonna factor in too much to Florida State's season in 2019.
We're going to be talking about this a lot between now and September, October, November. If it all works out, if this team does get 9 wins, and James Blackman throws, let's say 28 touchdowns, 12 picks, 4,000 yards. I just wonder how much of this we'll look back and wonder why he just didn't end up starting in 2018. People keep talking about the wheels are in motion to already undermine Willie in 2019 if this thing gets turned around. People will say that they'll give Kendall Browse all the credit or Randy Clements will get the credit. I think the one variable that people don't talk about is that if this thing does work out in 19 better than obviously what last year was, part of it's going to be quarterback play, but I wonder, how will he, and this is rhetorical more than anything, we can move on to something else. I'm just fearful to talk about it because then people are going to be like, see, you're undermining Willie, you're being a jerk. But if James Blackman does really well, and it's a new guy calling the plays, and it's a new quarterback back there, I think that's the whole Francois decision thing will come back into the front of my mind because it's in the back of my mind. And I think most people are over it. I remember talking to some guys this past weekend that were watching the practice that talked about of all the bad things that happened to Willie in 18, the weird decisions. That's got to be up there in the top 3 of just why he ended up sticking with Francois the whole time. But who knows? Maybe Blackman won't be the savior. Maybe Alex Hornibrook will come save the day. Who knows, right?
But I feel like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If my man throws for 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns, I think everybody will be they won't be okay with it, but they'll have better feelings about things, even if in hindsight it looks like a really ridiculous move.
Right. All right, so people took shots on YouTube. Unfortunately, I saw because I was uploading stuff. Well, they didn't poke it at necessarily us or War Chant, but they said that Florida State media is really lazy because nobody asked Willie about Hornibrook. And the thing is, Hornibrook is still considered a recruit, so we weren't allowed to ask him. And before we started talking to him, we were specifically told that he cannot talk about any personnel change or any recruits or anything like that. So it was the whole wink was you can't ask him questions about Hornibrook. So we don't lack any sort of tact or intelligence. We weren't allowed to ask that. Maybe the thing we didn't talk about on the show Monday was that Jim Leavitt was in town this past weekend. He was in Tallahassee. Jim Leavitt, former defensive coordinator at Oregon, former head coach at USF, was in Tallahassee Saturday. He was spotted. Ira asked him about what that was all about, but Willie sort of brushed it off, said it's we don't say he brushed it off, but explained it that it's nothing to see there. Basically, Jim Leavitt's kind of taking a tour, taking it easy this year. He's probably getting paid whatever millions of dollars from Oregon, and he's just kind of visiting some places. So people might have thought, oh, he's spotted. Is he coming? Doesn't sound like it, but that would have been pretty cool. Imagine that. I'd be, oh, man. I got a foot back on the Taggart train because of the hire of Kendall Browse, and it looks like James Blackman's going to be the quarterback. But, dude, if he in mid-March just told Harlan sorry and then brought in Jim Leavitt, woo, I'm on it. I'm shoveling the coal. I'm shoveling the coal into the locomotive at the front of the Taggart train. But it's probably not happening.
Yeah, man. Well, give Harlan Barnett a chance. Come on. I know you weren't impressed with what we saw last year. How could you be? Nobody could have been impressed with that. But he's done a lot of work before he got to Florida State, which was really impressive. So let's give him a chance before we start. But why isn't Leavitt at Oregon? What happened?
I don't know. I think there might.
Did he retire? Did he quit?
That's the thing.
There's no way there's no way Cristobal fired him, so he just quit for no reason?
I'm under the impression he quit, but people have said that he's still under contract, so he's collecting money, and the hope was that he would maybe become an analyst somewhere. Tallahassee, obviously.
Why did he quit?
There's really no connect the dots sort of reason for why he did leave. I guess there's a belief that obviously there had to be some sort of discord between him and the head coach for him to no longer be there, but they did reach some sort of settlement. So he's not even if he did quit per se, he didn't leave money on the table or all the money on the table. He still did walk away with some sort of settlement. So there is that. People say, well, look at, Florida State's in a better position with a guy like Harlan Barnett because, Jim Leavitt's gone and nobody's hiring him. But I don't know. I think if you stack their resumes side by side, Leavitt's probably more accomplished. But at this time of the cycle or whatever, yeah, I guess you do let Harlan Barnett go at least one more season and then see how it works out. So that brings me to the part back here now, talking about Taggart and what we were able to kind of glean from his comments after practice. He is excited about Levante Taylor playing the nickel back. I just figured that he would be best suited as corner opposite of Asante Samuel, and you move Sanford Samuels to the Zeus position or whatever they want to call it, a safety more or less. He just seems that's probably more in his skill set, but I don't know if we forgot about Levante Taylor to a large degree, I feel like, Corey. At least I did. If he can come back, I don't know if I want to use the word revelation, but that would be a big boost.
Yeah, man, remember in 2017, he was one of their best players, legitimately. One of the best players on the team. 2018, he was not one of the best players on the football team. Not a lot of great ones over there to choose from on the defensive side of the ball, but he certainly wasn't one of them, and he was hurt. So, again, you just get your best players on the field, whoever they are. It's getting to a point in football now, man, where it almost doesn't even matter much anymore what the positions are. You got Najaldeen as a linebacker. You got Taylor, who's a cornerback playing safety. You got Woodby, who is a linebacker now. He's at safety. Stanford Samuels was a safety last year. Now he's moved back and forth between corner and safety. Just get guys on the field that can go make plays.
All right.
You feel me?
I feel you.
And also, like, he did get, it would be nice to have a guy that's a ball hawk at safety, and maybe when you're 5'9" or 5'10", and he is fast. Maybe it's better instead of getting leaped over, however you want to say that, by the receivers, you got a guy that can go cut in front of them now and make plays. I don't know. Maybe they get tired of watching their small cornerbacks get beat for jump balls all the time.
Oh, man. Yeah, can't wait for all that. Something else Willie said that stood out to me was offensive line play. He said they looked damn good. And
okay,
I feel a little bit bad because I don't want to literally take every word Willie says and hang it over his head. But this goes back to the whole what happened last year was we heard good things. Willie liked the direction that everything was going, and then 2018 unfolded before our eyes. So I find it curious that he's still beating that drum of optimism and high hopes and high expectations. It's a good thing he's your head coach. People, say or yelling right now, what do you want him to say, Osmond? What do you expect him to say? There's a lot of ways you can praise a segment without saying they did a damn good job. And you like the way they're looking, and they're more connected, and they're better in sync, is what he said. I'm bringing basketball lingo into the football show. So they were more in sync, and he credited that a lot to Randy Clements. But I don't know. I'm going to take that as surely he knows what he set up last year, and it didn't go that way. So I'm sure, listen, he's changed the way he's leaving things open for us, what we can watch, what we can report on. So why wouldn't he take a different change in tone and the way he's describing what he's seeing to the media, which then obviously disseminates it to the fans if he wanted to temper expectations. So take that for what it's worth if you're a fan. Your head coach thinks that one of your most maligned positions that you have is coming along fairly well as we go into week 2 of the spring. So I'm a believer right now, Corey. I'm believing. Are you believing?
It didn't sound like any of that prologue to you saying you're a believer. None of it sounded like you were a believer.
None of it did? I tried.
Not 1 second of it sounded like you were a believer. It sounded like you were lampooning the head coach.
No.
Having the audacity to compliment his offensive line.
No, for real. No, I didn't. I'm not lampooning. Don't say that. But this comes back to when people say I'm unfairly treating Willie Taggart. What he said, like, I took everything he said at face value. Like the praise he heaped on the offensive line. We got mutants. We got war daddies. This guy looks good. This guy looks great. And then there wasn't a whole lot of great last year. So I would think the fact that he still believes in his guys and is still going to go and put his neck out to a certain degree and say things, I'm being sincere, it does have to bode well. I'm sure a lot of folks are they'll believe it when they see it, which is probably the way you should take these things. But you can believe a little bit now that it's spring. But that caught my ear, man. When if he's going to heap praise on that side of the ball, that segment that was so maligned, that didn't do hardly anything right this early on, it has to be a good thing.
I think if you asked Willie Taggart off the field, what was the biggest mistake he made his first season? Obviously, it would have been not tempering expectations. Some of the stuff he said, they got everybody fired up that had me predicting 10 wins. All that. I think that was the biggest mistake he made. So he knows that. He's obviously a bright person, a very bright person. I don't think he'd say anything like that lightly.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of the point you're trying to make. Like if he's saying that about the offensive line, I truly think he believes that. I don't think he's puffing smoke up our butts.
Right.
That's a saying, right? Puffing smoke up butts. Yeah. People do that all the time. I haven't done that in a minute. I'll tell you what. Anyway, I don't think he just would do that to do that. I think he legitimately thought they must be playing well, better than he thought. Yeah, and that's a good sign because he knows how dumb he looked for saying all the stuff he said in August.
I didn't say that. Here, I think I'm going to try to find it here in the interview. We'll let him say it in his own words, so I'm not parsing and paraphrasing him.
Oh yeah, my guys are doing a great job. The thing I'm excited about our old line is how in sync they are on what we're doing, and again, offense was moving the ball. You know, when you're moving the ball, good things are happening. But I think Coach Clement's doing a good job of teaching our guys, and our guys are doing a good job of learning and then going out and try to execute what we're doing, man. And they're doing a damn good job at it.
All right, so hey, that sounds good, right?
It does. It was a little. Now that I heard it, it's a little more tempered than I thought it was.
Well, if you
I think he's genuinely probably impressed.
You writers, if you'd have transcribed that quote. And that's why I think it's so important. I get it, folks. I know you don't want to listen to 7-minute interviews. I know you just want us to write out the quotes. But sometimes you need to listen to the actual interview. And sports journalism has been based on this for years and years and decades and centuries of taking quotes and putting it into stories. But I just wish so many times you guys would hear the quotes, especially when I'm talking to recruits. Like when you read a quote from a recruit, you're like, damn, he's coming here. But if you listen to it, the tone, the way it's delivered, like, he's probably just, he's just saying to be nice.
Right.
But anyhow, that's neither here nor there.
But you don't think Willie was just saying that to be nice?
You think so?
No, I'm saying you don't think that about the offensive line.
No,
you think he's actually I don't think he would say they're doing a really good job or a good job and he's impressed with them if he wasn't.
I know.
He is the kind of guy that would say like, we got some work to do. We got some room to grow. We're trying to get there.
Whatever. This is why I try to be positive. Our worst shows are when I try to be nice and optimistic and hopeful. And then this happens. So I'm not going to stop doing it.
It doesn't suit you at all.
All right. That's enough. We just squeezed out 35 minutes or so on.
Hey, man, talk about Kabengele. Sixth man of the year.
Oh, did he win it? That really? Okay, so that happened. All right. Let's give him props.
I didn't realize
that
really happened.
I'm sorry.
We're not going to have to record this whole thing over again, are we?
No.
This was like our Syracuse game from last year. This whole show has been Syracuse. Just run to the line 3 times and punt. And then at the end, you're going to try to help me up off the ground, and I'm going to spin away from you. What a debacle. But, yes, he was the runaway winner for Sixth Man of the Year. I don't even know if there was another. I mean, who else doesn't start their best player? So there really wasn't another option. I think one guy, he got like 69 of a possible 75 votes. Leonard Hamilton did not win Coach of the Year. Tony Bennett did. Leonard finished 4th. And there were no Florida State players on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd teams.
Good. Chip on the shoulder. I like that. Good.
Exactly right. Kabengele was the highest honorable mention. He was like 2 points away from being on the 3rd team, and I think Terrence Mann was 2nd or 3rd highest honorable mention. But they didn't make the team. So, yeah, they can go into the ACC tournament and beyond saying, hey, we'll show Tobacco Road. Yeah. We'll show that biased North Carolina media.
That's right.
That we're not 2 of the 15 best players in the conference. The ACC is loaded, though, man. You look at those names and you're like, man, I don't know. I guess you'd put Kabengele in over him, but good grief, he's really good too.
How is Zion the player of the year?
I don't get it, man. And you see some people on Twitter saying, oh, it was a no-brainer. It's like, man, how many games did he miss? Like, I legitimately don't know. Didn't he miss like 7 games?
At least.
And R.J. Barrett set the all-time Duke freshman scoring record. He averages like 27 a game or 26 a game. Like, I don't know how you give it to Duke won multiple games, big games, without Zion Williamson, including at Florida State. Because R.J. Barrett took over, then Cam Reddish did what he did. I mean, it's really weird that it was just so there was just a big shrug. Like, yeah, of course Zion won it. I mean, all right, I guess. Kid played in 10 ACC games. So anyway, but I mean, he's awesome. He's certainly the most fun player to watch. He'll be the number one pick most likely, but goodness.
I'm counting this, man. Like, R.J. Barrett was their leading scorer in, I think, 20 of their games, literally. So, I mean, he was their top scorer more so than Zion Williamson. And obviously this stretch ever since Zion went out, you know, Barrett's led the team 33, 30, 21, 19, 28, and 26.
So how many games is that? How many games has Zion missed?
If you count the North Carolina game, he missed 6 games.
Yeah. So he played 60% of their ace. And, I'm assuming you count Florida State in that. So he really missed 6.5 games.
No, yeah, 6.5 if you count Florida State, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, but I don't know. That's just, to me, that's bizarre. I mean, he would have won it if he stayed healthy, but he didn't. And, but look, he's incredible because of what he does on both ends. And he was their leading rebounder. He's a freakazoid. But, yeah, I don't know how you give the player of the year to the guy that, if you're just strictly going by the conference slate, missed 6.5 games, including both games against North Carolina, and their biggest win of the season, probably their best win of the season, was at Florida State. And he had 11 points, didn't play in the second half. So I don't know.
They won at Virginia.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But R.J. Barrett was the leading scorer that game. So
of course he was. He's awesome.
All right, Florida State's going to play Florida in baseball Tuesday night, 6:30 in Gainesville. Will the streak end?
You know what? I'm not really positive when it comes to stuff like this, but yes, I think Connor Grady. This is certainly going to be a freezing cold take, but I think Connor Grady has what it takes.
Yes.
He's going to get the start.
Yes, he is.
I think he'll give them something. Florida's been really bad in midweek games. They lose to everyone by a lot. So they're probably not, they don't probably have a lot of confidence going into Tuesday night. Although they always beat Florida State and always hold them to 2 hits. So, they're probably not real skittish right about now about facing the Noles. But you know what? I think the streak's over. It's a special season. They've already done some great things. 12-game winning streak, 11-0 to start the season, no-hitter, all that nonsense, walk-offs and whatnot. I think it's going to be made even more special with 11 in his final game in Gainesville until the Super Regionals. His final game in Gainesville will be a win, regular season win, 5-2.
He referred to Gainesville's Hogtown in his post-game 2000 win press conference.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's the beauty, man. He legitimately, I don't think he has a problem with the coaching staff or anything like that. I think they get along. But he's a Florida State guy through and through. He hates Florida as much as you guys do.
Yeah.
More so because he keeps losing to them. So trust me, he wants to go out there with a win, and that's funny that he calls them Hogtown. That's awesome.
Yeah. Florida State currently, they're number 1 in the collegiate baseball poll. They're number 5 in Baseball America. They're number 10 in D1 Baseball's poll, 12 in Perfect Games poll, and number 6 in the USA Today coaches poll. So
college baseball's got to get it together, man, with the polls.
Yeah, it's bad. It's
5
bad.
polls? 5? And there's such a wide disparity.
Yeah.
They're 1 in a poll and 12 in another.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. College baseball, get it together, man. Don't you want people to watch you and appreciate you and care? Find 2 governing bodies, ranking bodies, whatever, and just stick with them. They're ranking 5, using 5 different rankings. Yeah. Preposterous, Aslan.
Corey, so I'm still in the midst of my Game of Thrones binge.
Okay.
I did see the Red Wedding. They didn't call it the Red Wedding until a few episodes after it, actually. Or at least I didn't pick up on it until I was watching an episode earlier today when they referenced the Red Wedding. So I have seen that.
You have seen it. What did you think of it?
My goodness. I can only imagine if I would have watched this show the way it's intended, once a week, and then I had to wait a year to get 10 more episodes. What a well-done episode, but it hurt, man. It hurt because you would instantly become ingratiated and a fan of Ned Stark in the first season, and then guy doesn't even make it out the first season. Like, how are you going to do that to people? And then you're just constantly rooting for people to die, and they're staying alive, and good people keep dying. I am so frustrated. I want Littlefinger dead tomorrow. I want Ramsay dead tomorrow. By the way, that the whole angle, and this is somewhat spoilerish, but not too spoilerish. By the way, it's all
nobody's listening anymore, man. You can spoil away.
It's 4 years old. The sadistic nature of the story angle involving Theon Greyjoy and that Ramsay guy makes me more uncomfortable, I think, than anything I can remember watching television.
Yeah, I think like he's not a real part of the book. I think they made that character up, or he's an amalgam of other characters or something, I think. I read that somewhere. Yeah, it's pretty hard to watch. Game of Thrones can be a tough watch, man, because you're right. It's like all the people we want to live don't. All the people we don't want to live do. It starts to even out as you get, let me just say that, without giving you a spoiler, it starts to even out as we get later into things. But yeah, that's the beauty of Game of Thrones. I always thought one of the beauties was that, and this is the nerdiest portion of any of podcasts we've ever had, is that nobody was safe.
Right.
Like you could watch, I don't know, Justified, or I don't know why I just picked that show, but you knew that, what's his name? The main character he wasn't going to die. You know, he might get in trouble. He might get in a bind. MacGyver's going to get in a bind, but MacGyver's going to find a way to get off the ship before it blows up. Because the show's named MacGyver. He ain't dying. But these people, you never know. They all could go in any moment. So it does add like real tension.
You knew Zach Morris was always
the Red Wedding just changed everything for me. I'm like, what? Really, I had like a moment. Shanna was with me actually. She had watched it. I was covering the Florida State baseball game. It might have been a regional, and she stayed up to watch it with me again just to see my reaction. And I had a moment to myself maybe after the shock wore off, like 15 minutes later, being like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah,
I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah,
I could appreciate it, but that's not. Why am I watching this show? That wasn't fun at all. Because I'm genuinely upset.
You're watching the show.
I shouldn't watch something that makes me genuinely upset.
Daenerys Targaryen. That's what makes you hanging on.
Sure. I like how you're going through your Game of Thrones phase, man. That's awesome.
Smoke show. Man, she's gorgeous.
She is. Are we just going to keep talking? Are we still on the air? Is this still being recorded?
We're done, Corey. We're good.
Oh, hey, okay. Corey. Awesome. Well, I love you, and we'll talk later.
Exactly what he said. Take care, everybody.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.